Another Dave Day here on SSPTV News with Dave Seaman, standard speaker, sports editor, who covered the Hazelton area boys basketball team from really preseason, Dave, all the way to the end. This past weekend, state semifinal, 6A semifinal game, losing to Lincoln High School. What a game, going into overtime, Dave. And you had a great column on Monday, I believe, entitled Brothers Forever, and I want to read part from it right now, talking about how hard it is to see high school athletes after a tough loss. And Dave said, you follow their careers since they were starring in local youth leagues. You tell people just wait till they all get to high school together. They're gonna be something. Lo and behold, these Cougars were something and more. And Dave, really and truly, I mean, what a run when you try to put all in perspective. But I mean, what do you remember from this Cougar team?
There are a lot of things you remember. You just remember like how close these guys were. It's not even like you said. You start in the local youth leagues, and they went to camps together. They came up together. They played against one another on the junior high level. But then when they all got together at the high school, you just knew that they were going to build together. And I knew when I talked to head coach Mike Joseph about 5 years ago, he said, "Yeah, you just wait until you see this group come up." He said he knew they were coming up. He knew that these kids really loved the game of basketball and they loved being together. They were, upstanding guys from the get-go. And and as you watched them, and they endured a lot of disappointments. First couple of years, they didn't win the district championship, a sub-regional championship. They lost to Abington Heights a few years ago at Berwick. Then a disappointing loss last year, the Williamsport in the sub-regional final. It denied them a chance to get to the state tournament. But I sensed something coming out of last season, that there was something missing, and they were going to make opponents pay for it. And boy, did they put on a show this year. I mean, realistically, they could have beaten teams by a lot more than they did this year. And the average margin of victory, I haven't calculated yet, but it's got to be well in double digits. And it's not just, it wasn't just the starters that got along. It was the guys that worked them hard in practice every day. The reserves, the juniors. They were a special part of this team as well. And sometimes these teams just happen, and it doesn't just happen either. They work toward it. So I mean, it was just a convergence of a lot of great talent, a lot of hard work, a chip on their shoulder, and they wanted to do something special, and it was a privilege to be part of that.
Can you talk about just how well they handled expectations? I mean, like you said, after last year, they had a feeling for a while this was going to be a good team. In fact, when I talked with Joey Grula, a senior, earlier this year, and I didn't air the clip, but he did talk about, he said, if we don't win a district championship, we're going to be disappointed. He's like, and at least that, they knew what they wanted to do, but they seem so mature and talented that they were able to handle everything and have the success. Because I'm sure it's easy to stub your toe maybe, because there's a lot of pressure.
Oh, there was, and I think that's why Coach Joseph did a fantastic job this year. People think, you have that much talent, you just roll out the balls and the magic just happens, but it doesn't happen. It comes with a lot of hard work. A lot of these guys played on the travel ball AAU circuit too, and they saw what the competition was like out there, and they excelled on the AAU level too. Josh and Jeff Panudis and Joey Grula, Demir, they were fantastic players. And then you add all-state caliber athletes like Ryan Sparky Wolk and Adrian Otero to the mix. Scotty Shamani is a fabulous athlete in his own right as a baseball pitcher. You put those guys on the team, and like I said, a junior class, any other team, they would have been, super players. But those guys bided their time. They pushed the guys. They knew who the stars were on this team, and those guys handled their responsibilities well. They went into every game like with a purpose. I know Mike likes to use that word, as playing with a purpose, and they played with a purpose from the beginning of the year on. They really weren't challenged that much, and when they did stub their toe in the middle of the season against Reading, they used that as motivation. The motivation that they didn't like how that loss tasted in their mouths, so they went out and they won every other game until they got to Saturday when a break here, a break there. They're playing for a state championship tonight.
Dave, last thing I want to ask you about this, Mike Joseph has had a great coaching career, was a great athlete, so I'm trying to say he's played a lot and seen a lot of basketball, and he said this was one of, if not, I think, the best rides he's been on. You said the same thing in your column, that this is one of the best rides you've been on as a sports reporter. Is it because it just happened, or is this truly something that was remarkable?
No, I mean, you just look at the stat lines. I mean, realistically, Jeff Panudis, congratulations. He went over 1,000 points. Josh Samick finished, I believe, 17 points away from 1,000. Joey Grula doesn't get hurt this year. He's a 1,000-point scorer as well. Demir Faison, most likely going to get there next year. So you're talking about 4 high-caliber athletes, that are, 4,000-point scorers. You get one on a team, it's special. You get 2 at WOW, 3 unbelievable. And then just think about four 1,000-point scorers on the same team, and without an ego either. I mean, they're all they were very unselfish too. They didn't care who scored the points as long as the Cougars had more points at the end of the day.